Welcome on everyone. Welcome on in everyone. My name is Jess Francisco and I am thrilled to be teaching on behalf of Ranger today. We're going to be diving into some fun ways to use your Distress Oxide inks in card making today. And we'll be flipping down to a desktop view here in just a little bit, but I wanted to take a second and say hi to everyone. I hope that you guys are going to get crafty with us today. Feel free to follow along and create alongside me, or just hang out and spend some time with us. You can always revisit the video later. The video will be published and available between 24 and 48 hours on the Michaels YouTube channel. And you'll also be able to watch the replay of the video on the Michaels website. I adore your hair. Oh my goodness, Sherry, thank you so much. The hair looks nice. You guys are so sweet. I own about 540 inks, but have never opened them. Well, today is the day. You got to get those inks open and start crafting. So again, my name is, 40. Okay, that's fine. 540, 40. That's a lot of inks regardless. So again, my name is Jess Francisco. I am here on behalf of Ranger today, and I am super, super excited to work with some Distress Oxides with you. We are going to be learning how to make these cards. I've got some samples here that I have created. Ooh, the light's a little, ooh. The light is a little bright in here. It's quite sunny outside today, but we're going to be making some cards and focusing heavily on some techniques for you guys today. So we're going to be using the Distress Oxides, sort of watercolor effects is what we're going to be going for. Yeah, I think we're going to have a really good time. So I'm going to go ahead and flip to the desktop view. If you guys have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions. I will definitely try to keep up with chat, and Patty from Ranger is here as well, and she will kind of help me keep track of questions and anything that you guys need to know or stop, and feel free to ask anything. I'm going to go ahead and switch over. Here we go. All right, the hands at work. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. It sounds like people are responding, so let me know if you guys are having any trouble hearing me. We've got someone saying the volume is low. Can you guys hear me okay? Never mind, I can hear it. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. All right, so what we're going to be doing, these are the cards that I have created as samples for us today. So you can see a few different techniques at work here. We're going to be doing some ink blending to start out with. We're going to be also doing some faux watercolor techniques with stamping and our Distress Oxides. And I am so, so excited to show you guys kind of how these came together and to build some cards with you. What we're going to do to start out is grab some cardstock. I actually have this cardstock, which is Michael's 65-pound cardstock, and I have just cut this down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now, I usually make my cards A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Hi, Shelly in Texas. And this is just a nice little size. They fit nicely in the A2 size envelopes, which you can also get from Michaels. And I find that this 65-pound cardstock is a great weight for building layers or adding to your cards. It's not too heavy, and you don't go over the limits for the post office when you are adding multiple layers, which is very nice. So to get started, we are going to use our Make Art Station to do some ink blending. Now, this is a magnetic platform. This is designed to do a variety of things for you in your card making, but I like to use it to hold my cardstock down when I am doing my ink blending. I have a really bad habit of going a little wild when I'm doing my ink blending, and I rip or bend my paper. It's like one of those bad infomercials where you're like, wow, how did they even manage to do that? But that's me in the craft room. So I like to use the Make Art Station just because it helps me keep my paper in place. I've got a variety of different magnets here that work well with it. They come with the ruler, so you can line things up if you need to. And then a variety of magnets as well. Now, Michaels also has the smaller size if you're looking for something more compact and on the go. And this one is a 7-inch size. This one is a 12 by 12. It's 12, right? 12. Yes. Okay. Had to double check. And you love the Make Art platforms. Me too. They're so handy. I love that it's something that I can control where my ink is going. Yes, 12 by 12. Thank you so much, Patty. It's a good thing I have this measured grid here. I was lining it up with my grid on the desk to see how big it was. But I like that it's something compact and I can control the ink of where it's going because I tend to make a very large mess when I'm crafting. So I'm going to base my first ink blending off of this panel here. So this background color that you see is done completely with Distress Oxides. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, and then I'm going to have a gradient effect that goes all the way down to my darkest color. The three colors that I'm using today are Spun Sugar. So this is a very soft pink color. Then there's also Victorian Velvet, which has sort of a dusty pink sort of vibe to it, but a little bit of a purple feel too. And then we've also got Seedless Preserves. So this is a more dark purple in comparison to these. This is probably one of my all-time favorite Distress Oxide and ink colors. I use it quite a bit in a lot of different blends. So we're going to grab our lightest color first, which is our Spun Sugar. Like I mentioned, this is very, very light pink. We're going to go ahead and do a circular motion on the ink pad. So this here is a mini ink blending tool. It holds with a Velcro pad here, the foam blending pad, and then you can use that to go ahead and apply your ink directly to that foam, and then this ink gets applied directly to the paper. How do you get the colors on the side of the ink containers? I actually did this myself. I used sticker paper and I printed the names of the ink pads on a whole sheet of sticker paper, and I trimmed them into just little strips. And then I used the actual ink itself to blend on top of that so that the ink color would be the exact true color. And that I would always be able to know exactly which color I was working with. I find this really helpful. The base is gray. I think you can see that here. This is gray. And I just like that it looks this way because then I can see it no matter what directions it's coming from. But yeah, I really like it. So we're going to start out with our Spun Sugar. I'm going to move my magnet down to the bottom. The nice thing about the Make Art Station here is that I tend to ink blend from specific angles. So I can actually just turn the whole platform, can't turn my whole desk, but I can turn the whole platform. And then I can just start blending up here at the top. I am going to use one more magnet here at the bottom just to kind of help hold it in place. Mine is very new. I just got a new one, so it is nice and slick, but that means I need a little more help from my magnets right at the beginning to kind of hold them in place. What is sticker paper? Sticker paper is just like a regular paper, but instead of it being not sticky on the back, it has a sticky backing. Why not tape? I don't have any tape that would fit them, I don't think. So I just went with sticker paper because it's what I have, but you guys could definitely go with whatever works for you. I just chose that just because it's what I had. I happen to have the sticker paper. I am a big fan of using things that I already have just because I don't like to have to, like if I'm in the middle of something and I'm trying to make it work, I like to try to use things that are already on hand. And I know a lot of us crafters tend to be that way. So I like to make it work with what I've got. So you can see that the ink is going on very faintly. Now in person, it is a little bit more visible than it is here. I'm going to lift it up so you can see that a little bit. It appears quite light on the camera just because the lighting is bright. But here in person, it does have more of a pink tone to it. My blending color has circles. Okay, so if you are experiencing color circles like this, where it has an actual circle here. Let me do it with a darker color so you can see it a little bit better. So true. Use what you have in your stash. Absolutely. If you are finding like this, that it has a color, right? It has the dark color and you're seeing those circles, try using, first of all, a lighter hand. I have a really hard time with this because I am very heavy-handed. So it has taken me a lot of time to try to not press so hard when I am ink blending, but you don't need to press down hard at all. This soft ink blending is best achieved when you go in with a very, very light hand. If I move this off to the side and show you the difference. So this is the Seedless Preserves color. Me too, I'm left-handed. Yes, I don't know if it's a left-handed thing, but maybe. So this is what happens if you start on the paper. My biggest tip is to start off of the paper on your surface here. So start on your station and start blending and then move in a circular pattern. And you can see how soft that is in comparison. You get a little bit of a dark edge, but then when you go here and you add more color, that circular pattern isn't there anymore. And you start to get a really nice soft blend. So you can see the difference between coming right in on the paper like this, and you've got a circle. But if you start on the outside, you're going to go ahead and get a nicer blend as we move towards the center, and just make sure to keep that hand light. And you can always build up more ink as you go, but you can't take away the ink once you put it down. So it's better to try to start as light as possible and just layer on more ink, especially when you're first practicing and getting started, and then build up that color as you go. So I'm going to set that one aside and move back here. We're going to go ahead and I think I'm good with the Spun Sugar now. We're going to move on with the Victorian Velvet. Let me put my lid on here. All right, so this Victorian Velvet is going to be our middle color. And I found my, oh, that's not the right one. Let me compare colors here. Make sure I've got the right ink blending tool. The other thing to consider is that the ink blending, the ink blending tools, or the foam pads, they build up color. So when you start and you've got a very clean foam blending pad, it's not going to blend as well as when it's saturated with ink and you've filled it up and it has that nice buildup of ink collected in it. Are we using sprays today? Also, I am only going to be using water today. So we're not going to be using the Distress Oxide sprays this time. We're just going to focus on the Distress Oxide inks. And then we are also going to use the Distress sprayer. So just water. This is clean water. But we'll be using that here in just a little bit. So the ink, the foam blending pad gets saturated with ink the more you blend with it. And the more you add that ink, the better ink transfer you're going to get to your paper. So I like to spend a little bit of time, if I haven't used this previously, just to get a good transfer. Now, one thing to consider, do you see I've got this ink on my fingers here? If I touch my paper here, it is going to transfer that ink from my finger to the paper. So be careful when you are doing your ink blending, just to make sure that you're not getting that transfer. Now, this is a good thing about the Stay-tion here as well. It holds it in place just to make sure you don't have to use your fingers. And then you can very gently go in with your next color. This is ink blending. Are we going to do watercolor today too? Yes. So we're going to do some faux watercolor techniques with the Distress Oxides. The reason we're starting with the ink blending is because I'm going to use this ink blended background to show you some different water techniques with the other Distress Oxides. And we're going to actually lift the ink with the water. Do you store the ink pads? Do you store the pads on the ink pad? I do. I actually put a Velcro dot on the bottom. And then, so when I take this off, I just store it right here. So I just got a Velcro dot and I just pop it right on the bottom. And I saw someone asked also if I clean the pads. I personally do not. I know there are plenty of people who do. but I don't. Number one, I am a little bit of a lazy crafter. When it comes to cleaning up supplies, I like to try to do as little as I can. And also, I really like that buildup of the saturated ink that I get. So I prefer not to clean them just because it leaves the ink in there. They don't get dry or crusty or anything like that. They stay nice and soft and they blend beautifully when you've got that extra color in there. But that's just a personal preference. Can you buy new pads by themselves? Yes, absolutely. They do come in a pack, I believe, of 20, maybe. Maybe Patty can let me know. I'm not sure if it's 20. I think they might come, I think it's 20, but I'm not sure. That you can buy them in a pack with just the pads. You can buy the handles and the pads from Michael's, and also I'll check for you. Thank you, Patty. You can buy the handle with a few of the pads, and then there is another pack that you can get that's just the little foam pads. What's the consistency of the inks? Is it a cream similar to makeup? I would say this is a felt pad. This ink pad here, it's a felt pad with ink inside of it. So I can touch it and I will get ink on my finger, but it's not, I don't really know how to explain it. When it goes on, it has sort of a chalky finish. This particular type of ink. There is also the distress inks, which don't have this sort of chalky finish, but it's similar. It's a little similar to a pigment ink in that it does sort of have like a chalky sort of finish, and it stays wet a little bit longer than some of the other dye inks. Great to know. I don't like cleaning pads either. Yes, I'm not a fan. Do the pads not make a mess everywhere stuck to the back? Okay. Yes, they can. No, I'm not still on Spun Sugar. This one is Victorian Velvet. There you go. Victorian Velvet. So the top is Spun Sugar, this light pink here, and then this one is Victorian Velvet. I'm going to go ahead and swap to the Seedless preserves now as well as I talk about the mess. So they can leave a little dot of color underneath. I don't find that it is too bad or too frustrating, but I'm aware of it. So I kind of take precautions to make sure that I'm not struggling with that or getting it on anything that I don't want it to be on. But you might notice that like some of them have kind of a dirty section here. And that's because at one point I stacked them on top of each other when I was moving them. And so some of the pads sort of transferred ink from one place to another. So it does happen. Replacement foams come in a 20 pack. Perfect. I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. Thank you for checking on that. Dye ink soak into the paper, oxides sit on top. Yes. So the oxides are so nice because you can blend them even after you've applied them. So like for this, I'm putting on this dark color, but I could go back and add in the Spun Sugar and it would still blend right over top of that, just because of the way the inks are formulated. It's kind of like watercolor blending. Yeah, it's a really nice, I think ink blending is one of my all-time favorite things to do, just because you can get such beautiful results and so many different things with it as well. So when you come to these sections here where it looks like there's a hard line, and you think, this is not quite a good blend. I don't love this. What I like to do is go in with the same color I'm already using, but not freshly inked. Don't put it in your pad here, in your ink pad, and then go to blending, because you're going to transfer a ton of ink right here. We want to start at the bottom and then bring that color up. So we start down here, try to get the ink off of the ink pad so it has less ink on it. And then as you come up here, use a lighter and lighter hand so that you soften that line. And then it will blend so nicely into the other color. And you just take your time. I think that's my biggest piece of advice for ink blending is don't try to rush it. I too often find myself trying to hurry through projects And I think for ink blending, it's kind of a labor of love sometimes, and especially until you get really comfortable with it. And until that time comes, you sort of just nurse it a little bit. This is Seedless Preserves. Yes. I want to try the domed foam pads. They are amazing. I have some and I absolutely love them. They're really good. I like them a lot. Okay, so that is our blend for the bottom. Now, if for some reason you feel like your blend isn't quite what you wanted, the nice thing about these, like I mentioned a little bit ago, is that you can go back in with the lighter colors and blend over top just to kind of smooth that out a little bit. So I feel like this is a very nice blend. But if you feel like your blend isn't quite as smooth as you would like, you can always go back over it with the lighter colors and just gently add a little bit more. So I'm kind of reverse engineering this and going backwards so that now I can add a little bit of spun sugar back to the top, because my spun sugar section got a little smaller than I wanted it to be. That happens frequently with me. And now I'm just going to turn this, because being left-handed, I feel like I have certain angles that work best for me as far as ink blending goes. But you'll notice that I'm able to bring that lighter color down farther. With other types of ink, you wouldn't be able to do this, because once you put a dark color on, that's sort of just it. But with the Distress Oxides, you really can get a nice appearance here with the blend down towards the bottom. All right. So now that we've got a nice blend, I'm really happy with the way that this looks. I'm going to go ahead and take this off of my station, and we're going to start looking at doing some water techniques with our blended background. All right, I'm going to set my station off to the side for right now, and we're going to pull it back out here in just a little bit. It looks pretty. Thank you so much. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take out this stamp set that I've got here. This one is the, it's a butterfly stamp set from Recollections brand. So this is Michael's brand. And I'm going to use this butterfly image here. You can use any of the images here that you want. And we're going to use the acrylic block here to get our placement ready to go. I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and adhered to our acrylic block so it's not going anywhere. Oh, Patty, you're so sweet. Thank you. I love ink blending. I find that when you love to do something, you practice at it more, and I just love ink blending. So it's definitely one of my favorite things to do. So you can pick any of these images. I'm just going to stick with this one since it's what I used in the sample card, but you can pick any of the butterfly images that you would like to use. And then what we're going to do is have a spare piece of cardstock over here to stamp our ink on, or stamp our, I'll show you in a second how we're going to do it. But we're going to basically take the spray bottle, and I'm just going to lightly mist it. I don't want to saturate it so that the water droplets are falling off. I don't want there to be big beads of water, because it will make it so that our image is blurry and it won't look as crisp. Do you ever use brushes for blending? I personally don't, just because I am kind of a creature of habit and I love my ink blending tools. So I have stuck with what I know so far, but I think I'll try them eventually. I haven't tried them yet. Just to show you guys again what I did, I'm going to dry this off. You make it look so easy. Oh my goodness. It's just about practice and taking it slow. And just work on scrap papers. Find colors that you love, that you want to blend together, and just keep practicing. And I think that the paper does make a difference. So different types of paper blend differently, and they absorb inks differently, and the inks sit on top of them differently. This paper from Michael's, I actually have excellent results blending on, but I've tried other papers and I don't have great results. So I think it really depends on the type of paper you're using and the type of ink. And that will make a huge difference as far as what your end result will be. So kind of just like experiment and see, does it work well with this paper? Does it not? Does it work better with this type of paper? And then pick whichever one you like the results for best, and then keep going with that one, and then start practicing so that you can make small improvements over time. Paper does matter, absolutely. Okay, so just one more time, I'm going to show you guys what I've done here. I'm using the Distress Sprayer, and I'm going to hold it a little bit of a ways away, not right on top of it like this, a little ways away, and I'm just going to mist, just kind of one time there so that it's just a little bit wet. And we're going to come right over here to our background, and I'm going to stamp it. So you're using this like an ink, only it's water. And because the Distress Oxides react with water, you will get a lifted effect when we remove this. It starts out faint. You might not be able to see it super well. It starts out faint, but as it dries, it will get a little bit more pronounced. This is really good for a sort of ghosting effect as far as when you're doing your ink blending, you can lift the color and do a nice subtle background here where you can see that butterfly image. This does work best on dark colors. So if I do this same thing again up here, it's not going to show up as well because the lighter colors have less to take away when it reacts with the water. The dark colors work really well. What paper? Yes, thank you so much, Patty. This is the Recollections. I have the package right here, actually. It is the 65-pound cardstock from Michaels. So I just picked this up in the paper craft aisle.
And Jess, there's also another question.
Oh, yes.
Can you use watercolor cardstock?
Oh, you definitely can. Yes, you can use watercolor cardstock as well. The only thing that I would tell you about watercolor cardstock is a lot of times they have a textured side and a smooth side. So depending on what effect you're going for, you'll want to pick the right side of the cardstock. So if you want a very smooth blend like this, make sure you're using the smooth side. But if you want something that's more textured, you can use the textured side as well. The nice thing about watercolor is that the nice thing about watercolor paper is that it can take more water than like a regular cardstock can. This isn't made for water techniques, but it can take a little bit of water. If you use too much water on a normal paper like this, it will start to pill and you won't get good results. But just a little bit of water is fine. How do you avoid getting the edge of the block on it when you stamp? So I don't usually have too many problems with this, but the size of the block is important. You'll notice that I used a block that was pretty much exactly the size of this stamped image. You won't always be able to do that, but it's good to have a variety of acrylic blocks for different sized stamps. If you try to use a block that is too large for your stamped image, you will end up rocking and touching the block onto your cardstock. I think maybe that's what you're having a trouble with, Betty. And it's just because of the way that your pressure goes down when you have a stamp in the center and then you're pressing down, you end up more so with those edges touching. And especially if you've got an ink on your acrylic block, that can ruin your project. And I've definitely done that more times than I can count. It's actually when I used a small one, really. It may just be comfort. I like this one just because I can put my fingers like right on the little ridges and I can find the placement fairly easy that way. But you may just want to find some that work for you. Also, sometimes a thicker block can help. And for other people, a thinner block. I don't particularly like the thinner blocks because I have a hard time gripping them. And then I struggle with the placement and whatnot. You can see this image started to darken up or brighten up a little bit. And you can see it a little more now. I don't think the camera is really doing it justice. It makes it seem a little more dull than it is in real life. But you can see that light image that we got from watercolor lifting. So that is where you're going to spray your stamp with water and then you put it on your ink. This works on your ink blended background. And then this will lift the ink color because it reacts with the Distress Oxide inks. This works really well with solid color images. So like if you had something like these little butterflies here that are solid, they work really well because there's less intricate details. So those solid ones would be a perfect way to get a nice lift image there. I love the Misty as well, April. What do I do since my new mister broke? Oh no, I'm so sorry that that happened. I would definitely, yeah, like Patty said, try to look into getting a replacement for it. I've had mine for such a long time and it's working great. That's such a bummer. Okay, so we've got our watercolor lift. And then I'm going to go ahead and look into our next step here. So what we're doing is we're going to be stamping watercolor images onto our background using the Distress Oxides. So I'm going to set that off to the side just so it doesn't get in our way. But what we are going to do is take the Distress Oxide inks. So I'm going to do, because I used, this is Victorian Velvet and Seedless Preserves. I want to do Seedless Preserves on the bottom of my stamped image and then Victorian Velvet on the top. So what I'm going to do is take my ink pad and then I'm going to just lightly tap onto the bottom of the stamp. Now, I don't know if you can see there, it's got a little bit of color on it so far. You don't have to lift your stamp up like this. I'm just trying to help you guys see it a little bit better. You don't want a harsh line that goes across the middle, but you want just to gently tap that color on there so you get a little bit of that Seedless Preserves, right? So we're getting the color on there. And then we are going to add in the next color. So we're going to use Victorian Velvet. Can you use inks on surfaces other than paper, i.e. wood, to get a stenciled effect? I have never tried using these inks on wood. I would have to, I don't know. Now I'm interested. Patty might know, but I'm not sure. I have never tried that, so I'm not sure. Now I feel like I need to go and try that. That's a great question though. As you're adding color to the stamp, is it dry or wet? It is dry. So the stamp has nothing on it. It's dry, and I'm adding the ink to the dry stamp just as it would come out of the package. You may have already answered this, but what is Distress Oxide? So Distress Oxide is a type of ink, and it is formulated to react with water so that you get an oxidized effect when you blend or use techniques that have water in them. So this is kind of a unique formula where it's not quite a dye, but it's not quite a pigment ink. It stays wet longer than a dye ink, but it blends and works with water like some of the dye inks do as well. Does this Distress Oxide get dried over time? Do we need to add ink to the pad? Yes. So Ranger does carry re-inkers, which are little bottles of ink that you can refill. You don't have to buy a new ink pad every time. You can definitely refill them, and it is much more cost effective because you'll get multiple refills out of one little bottle of refill rather than buying a whole new pad every time. Okay, so we've got our ink on here. Now what we're going to do is, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's got the lighter color on the top and then the darker color on the bottom. As Tim Holtz would say, try it. Yes. Yep. Yeah, inside the mister is just clean water. I'm not sure, I may have missed when someone asked, but inside this is just clear water. So now that we've got our ink on here, right? We've got our stamp all inked up. We're going to go ahead and spray it just a little bit with our water. Now I sprayed this a little bit more than when I did the lift technique. Now that we've got this here, I like to just go ahead and go around the edges a little bit and clean it up just so I'm not dripping water on my project. So then now we've got just the stamp part that has the liquid or the water on it. And then we're going to go ahead and flip that right over, and we're going to stamp right here. Now, because this has a little more water, our image isn't going to be perfectly crisp. When you add water to things, it gives it more of a watercolor flowy sort of look, and it doesn't look perfectly crisp like a stamped image. If you want it perfectly crisp, you can use less water or no water, and then you will get different results depending on how much water you use. This is a little wet here right now, but you can see that we've got a different colored effect than just down here with just water. So now we've added ink and water, and you can see that the oxidization is happening here. I think that's a word, oxidization. Hopefully you can see that. I feel like the light is making it a little more dull than it is, but in person it looks really, really nice. Yes, so what is oxidation? Yeah, so that is how the different things react with oxygen. Yes. So it's the effect in this case with these inks, the distress oxides. It's how so once you combine the water with these and then let the air react with them, these will give you a different look. In my opinion, or how I would explain it, is basically that when you have these interact with water, they lift some of the ink, but then you get sort of a faded white sort of look to it. And that is to me, in my mind, the oxidization, or what it looks like when you get that result. It works really well for distressed techniques. It's why things rust. Yeah, it's really kind of a neat phenomenon. And it's nice to have something so unique in a craft supply. So just so you guys can see the difference. So we've got the just water down here. And then this is with a little bit of ink and a little bit of water. What we're going to do next, I'm going to clean this off just so we have a clean slate. Is it a special stamp, or can you use any stamp, like a rubber stamp? Yes, this is a clear stamp. I'm honestly not sure what the material is. Some stamps are made out of photopolymer. Some are made out of acrylic and other types of materials. I'm not sure what this one is made out of, but you can use this with any clear stamps. You can also use rubber stamps to do these techniques as well, but it's not any sort of special stamp. So is it the water? Is it a problem just having the inks exposed to the air? No. So if you just have an ink blended background like this, it won't oxidize. If you interact with water, then it will change the oxidation. What are you cleaning with? Oh my gosh, I'm kind of embarrassed that I put this on the screen. It is, it's just a microfiber cloth. It's so dirty. It's a microfiber cloth, and I just keep it on my desk. I'm so embarrassed. I don't, but it's great for cleaning off stamps. It's great. It's great. And then I just throw it in the wash after I'm done, and it's great. I have a few of them that I use, and they work pretty well. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we did here, only we're going to do it on the white paper. It shows creativity. Yes. How do you clean the stamps? Great question. So stamps are really easy to clean. All you have to do is wipe them off. And if the ink doesn't come off right away, you can also spritz them with a little bit of water and then wipe it off that way. They come clean right away. I've seen some people use baby wipes. I personally don't like to use baby wipes because number one, it's kind of hard on the environment to use something like that. I try to be as eco-friendly as I can. And then also I find that a lot of the baby wipes have lint on them, like itty bitty little hairs and things like that on the wipe. And it leaves that on your stamp, which can make you not get a good image. So that happens. So I don't particularly like that. One thing I did want to note is that you'll notice I'm getting the color right up next to the other color. If you happen to get a little bit of ink on your ink pad from a different color, the nice thing is you can just swipe this on a piece of cardstock until that ink is gone. And then you don't have to worry about it contaminating your ink pads or anything like that. You just can wipe it right off. And it doesn't damage your ink pads to do that either. Are these inks permanent? Will they wash out if they get on my clothes? I have gotten them on a lot of my clothes and on my carpet as well, and they do wash out. Because they interact with water, they are really great at coming out and coming off. Now, if you, like, I would not use these to try to like put on something fabric that you then plan to wash. You can definitely color things with these inks, like fabrics and things like that. But if you wash them, obviously when you put them in the water, they're going to react with that. And then a lot of that ink will likely come off. Yes, same 2 colors for the second butterfly. Yep, I used the Victorian Velvet and the Seedless Preserves. Cloths are a great way to clean your stamps. Yes, yes, it's so nice. And it's much better for the environment, I think. I used to use paper towels and I was like, ugh, this isn't good. I'm using too many supplies. Oh my gosh, Jane. So what I'm gonna do is, now that I've applied my ink, I'm gonna spritz it with water just like we did the last time. I'm going to go ahead and clean around the edges again, and that's just to dry it, just so I don't have anything on. I'm a little bit messy sometimes, and sometimes I do get things where they don't belong. So I like to just clean around the edges to keep it from getting my paper messy. So then what we can do here is just stamp directly on our paper. I like to hold it in place for just a minute, so that it has time to really apply. I find that with a little bit of water, sometimes you just want to give it a second to soak into the paper and really get that image in place before you lift it up. And then once we're ready, we just gently remove it and then look at our beautiful two-toned image with a little bit of a watercolor effect there. You can do this with a solid color as well. You don't have to do it with 2 tones, but I like the way that it looks. I'm a big fan of ombre stuff. I use Viva paper towels, and once they get really colorful, I use paper towels in many different ways. Oh, nice. That's really cool. Your tips are so helpful. I have plenty of microfiber cloths and we'll start wiping around the edges. Yes, I find it very helpful. So I'm just gently wiping here so that we can use this again. Oops, we slid off a little bit. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, as you use more water, sometimes the water can get underneath and go behind the stamps. If that happens, just take it off, dry it, and put it right back on. If you ever find that your stamps aren't sticking to your acrylic blocks anymore, this is a great way to get them to stick again. Just clean them, get them wet, rub them dry, and then they usually stick pretty well again. Perfect. All right, so we're good to go now. Now we can do it with the other colors as well. We're gonna do, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do Victorian Velvet and Spun Sugar. So I'm gonna start with a Spun Sugar at the top. And then we're going to go in with the Victorian Velvet at the bottom. And you can even go over and, like, if you didn't want to have it two-toned where at the top was one color and the bottom was a different color, you can go in and, like, let's say I wanted to add just a little bit at the top maybe, or the sides. You can do that. Just check your ink pad, see if you've got any ink transfer. I'm looking pretty good. If you do, just swipe it on your scrap piece of cardstock. And then you can keep moving. So we're going to do the same thing here. Spritz with just a little bit of water. I'm going to just go right around the edges. Nothing too fancy. You don't have to be exact. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp. Now, I like to go ahead and stamp at an angle. So I've done this one kind of facing this way. Now I'm going to turn this one so it's kind of up, facing up towards the sky a little bit more. I like to angle them because I find that they look so pretty on a card. So it looks like they're flying up into the air. Michael's was out of the butterflies. Oh no. Now you might find, Linda, that using different colors may work better for different mediums. So the colors can make a big difference as far as what it looks like. And especially for flowers or something like that, you may just need to change up the colors and you'll find that it looks much better, or they just vary depending on what you've got going on. So now you see we've got this light look in the middle and we've got the darker around the edges. How do you like the new Distress Oxide color that just came out? Salvage Patina. Yes, I really love it. Teal and turquoises are my absolute favorite color. I used to be a purple fan, and now I am now I am a big teal and turquoise fan. So when I saw that that color was coming out, oh my goodness, I was just in love. I'm going to do a third one up at the top, but I'm actually going to do a darker one. So I'm going to do Seedless Preserves. I'm going to, in fact, I'm going to stamp this whole thing with Seedless Preserves, and then we're going to get a little wild. What we're going to do is stamp the whole thing with Seedless Preserves. And then So the, what am I going to do? I think I'm going to spritz it with the water. So we've got our ink here. And then if you can, I'm going to try this. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Goodness gracious. Excuse your spelling. Excuse my speaking. We all have our things today. I'm going to go ahead and turn this. I'm going to stamp it right up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use, I'm going to try to save my placement here. I'm going to use this. This is one of the positioning tools from the Make Art Station. I'm going to keep this right here. You could do this on your station as well, your magnetic mat here. But I'm going to save that placement. I'm going to lift this up. You see, we've got our nice dark placement here. I'm going to leave this right here. So that I know exactly where to fit my stamp back into place. And I'm going to get a little crazy here. And instead of using the Distress Oxides, I'm actually just going to go in with a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of the Archival ink here. Now my stamp is dry. This is not wet anymore. It's dry since it's soaked into the paper. I'm adding just a touch. Can you see how faint that is? It's so, so light, just a little bit of the Archival jet black ink, just a touch. I'm not going to add water to this. So this ink is waterproof. So it's actually really great for stamping over top of these images. And then now we're going to go ahead and line this back up. I'm going to slide it right in place so I know exactly it's in the right spot. We're going to stamp that down. And then we've got just a hint of darker color there. Can you see that around the edges? Just a little bit. Yes, so the rulers, I think Patty put a link to the stamp positioners there. They're really, really handy. And you can use them. Let me grab my, my station here. You can use these directly on here. And because they have magnets in them, it will hold that in place for you so that it won't move around. And that is a really, really handy way to get your stamps in the exact right position again. So I really like that a lot. Okay, so now we've got our butterflies stamped out. And what I will tell you is these are going to turn out differently every single time you do them. That's kind of the beauty of using Distress Oxides and Distress products, is that they turn out so differently and they're beautiful every time. I just love the way that these look. So what we're going to do is, to make this kind of more into the card that we were going for, we're going to use a stamp. We're going to do the Let Your Dreams Take Flight stamp. Does the positioner come with the mat too? It's actually a separate product. So the positioner is something that you can choose to get or you cannot get when you buy them. So you can purchase them separately. But I would say it's a good investment. I really, really like the way that they work. And you can use them with either the smaller version, so the 7x7, or the 12x12. And the ruler also comes with a straight ruler as well. So there's a clear magnetic ruler there. There's the corner piece, and then there's like your kind of like a acrylic block as well. Yeah, the ruler comes in handy for sure. It's nice to line up a sentiment that way as well. All right, so we've got our archival ink. Now, like I mentioned, the archival ink is good for stamping over top of watercolor. We're going to go ahead and stamp that. Now you can do this either way. You can stamp into the ink pad like this, or if you find it easier, you can lay your ink pad or your stamp down on the table and ink like this. So I like to put just one finger in the middle here and then just tap it gently. You can do it either way, whatever you find works best for you. And then we can go ahead and flip that right on over. And we're going to go ahead and I'm looking at my placement over here. I'm going to go ahead and stamp right here. Now, to get a good position and placement here, I like to hold it in place with one hand and then just sort of smooth it without moving it. If you move this or twist it or rock it, there's a good chance that you're going to get a double stamped image. So this is a great way to make sure that your stamp is pressed nicely. You're going to get a good stamped image without making it move. And then I'm going to go ahead and just gently lift that off. And there is our sentiment. Let your dreams take flight. Absolutely beautiful. I love it. So to make this work, I'm going to put it on a card base first, and then I will add the perfect pearls to the end. That looks amazing. Oh, Victoria, thank you so much. I love these clean and simple cards. I think they're just so pretty. So this is the same size as this piece of this cardstock here, but I want it to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer right here to trim the edges. I'm going to trim just a little bit off of each side. So I want it to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to trim just a hair off this side, and then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to do the same on this side so that it is exactly 4. And then we're going to do the same thing, only, no, I think I will split it. I was going to say I was going to take it only off of one side, but it's positioned pretty well. So this is 5 1/2 to start with, but I want to make it 5 1/4. So I'm going to take off just 1/8 of an inch at the top and 1/8 of an inch at the bottom so that I end up with a 5 1/4 panel. Do you have to set the ink? You don't have to, but if you wanted to, they do have, like Ranger has a glaze that you can use. Patty, what's the exact name for is it just called Distress Glaze that you can use to like rub over top of it? I feel like that might be what it's called. Carol, hello, welcome. Distress Microglaze, thank you. I've missed most of this. Yes, okay, so you can absolutely view again from the beginning. The video will be published on the Michael's YouTube channel within about 24 to 48 hours, and you'll be able to watch the whole thing over again. I'm going to use this Recollections tape dispenser here to apply tape to the back of my card. And then we're just going to stick that right on top of our card base. And we are almost done with this card. There we go. Perfect. So pretty. Okay, so just to add a little bit of extra something to our card here, you're going to have to set this aside to let it dry. So just so you guys know, we've got liquid pearls. This color is called White Opal. And my biggest piece of advice for you about these types of products that come in a little bottle like this is to test them on a scrap first. I one time exploded an entire bottle of black liquid, like a bottle just like this, all over my project. I exploded it everywhere because sometimes they can get just a little bit clogged, or sometimes there's an air bubble right at the top. And then if you spray it out, it will kind of like spray onto your paper instead of creating a nice little drop. Now I've tested it, it's coming out perfect, and now I'm ready to move on to my project, but it will save you a headache, I promise. So what I like to do here is just add in little drops of the white right there and right there. And I'll bring this closer so you can see it here in just a second. Great sentiment for those graduating. Yes, absolutely. This is a great encouragement card, anything like that. So I'm going to add 1, 2, and 3 drops. And then I'm going to add 2 drops to this one just so that it doesn't get in the way of the sentiment. So I'm going to bring that closer just so you can see what we're looking at here. And it gives it a little bit of dimension. It adds just that little something extra to the card to make it really special. Can you guys see that? The dimension there, I really love that. It looks so nice. What does the Distress Microglaze add to the Carter project? So the microglaze seals the inks so that they don't react with the water anymore. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, you can. It's not required. What did you just add? Is it an ink or paint? It is, I don't actually know what it's called. Liquid pearls. This is paint. It does say it's paint. I was just going to say, I'm like, I think it's paint, but I'm not sure. So it's pearlescent paint. And it dries with a dimension. So it's not like a flat something. It will dry with just a little bit of a dimension for you on your project. So it gives you a little bit of something else to kind of step up your project a little bit. So that's that one. We're going to set that aside to dry. Now, yes, like Nuvo drops. Yep, it works just like that. I love these colors too. I love that they're pearlescent. Now the bottle does say drying time varies, allow at least 2 to 3 hours. Apparently you can put these on fabric as well. I didn't know that. But you just have to wait 72 hours before washing. So it's kind of like puff paint a little bit. But yes, so a couple hours here. I usually am pretty good within an hour, but if you're going to be mailing it, I would wait a little bit longer because they can get flattened a little bit if you put them in the mail too soon. So could you do blending on the edge of your card and then add or tape your completed picture on top? Hold on, let me read that again. Could you do blending on the edge of your card and then add or tape your, yes, absolutely. Yep, so it's all up to you. However you guys want to make your cards work best for you, absolutely. And you can do like, so you could have used this and then put your panel on top of it. So you had the ink blending around the outside maybe with your little panel on top. Absolutely. Do you coat the whole card with microglaze? Just the inked part. But it's up to you. You don't have to use it at all, but if you choose to, you can put it on the inked part or the whole page. It's really up to you. I think a lot of people do it with their fingers, but I think you could use a brush as well. I've seen a lot of people just kind of rub it on with their fingers, but it's definitely personal preference. Now, the thing is, sometimes you will get a little bit of ink transfer if you're using your finger, but it should be fairly minimal. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna get through this. What we're gonna do is stamp again with our darker purple. So this is the Seedless Preserves. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that nice and colored up here, and we're gonna stamp up at the top. Now, I do wanna use my water. If I stamp on this without using the water, it's gonna be very, very crisp, and that's not the look we were having here. So I kind of wanna stick with that as far as my color combinations here, so we don't get it looking off. So I'm gonna spritz that with the water. Again, I'm going to go in just with my paper or my paper towel, my microfiber cloth here, and wipe just around the edges a little bit so we don't get too much transfer. And then we're going to go ahead and flip this over. I like it kind of, for this particular card, I'm going to put it over here at an upward sort of angle to the left. And then I'm just making sure that water has like just a second to react and touch there. And I'm going to grab my scissors. Okay, so I've got my scissors and we're ready to go. And what I'm going to do here, ooh, nice. Okay, so what's going to happen is this is dark now, but you can see it lightening already. Where did you get the water bottle? This is actually the Distress Sprayer. It's a Ranger product and you can get it at Michael's. I think Patty will pop the link in there for you here in just a second. I love, love, love this tool. Can you use Distress Oxides in Bible journaling, or will it bleed too much in thin paper? This depends on how much I think it really depends on the Bible and on how much ink you use. I think you would have to experiment and see. I think I have seen people do Bible journaling with Distress Oxides. I'm pretty positive that I've seen YouTube videos with it. But yeah. I don't know how it would differ from other sprayers, but I know that this one has a really nice mist. And I think it just depends on what kind of mister you have as far as whether or not it would compare. They all spray slightly differently, so I can only guarantee the results from this one, but you can definitely try a different one. I think you have to put gesso down. Oh, April, that is excellent advice. Yes, if you put gesso down first, I didn't even think of that. If you put gesso down first, it will allow you to kind of seal the paper so that it doesn't go through to the other side. That is an excellent tip. Okay, so now we've got our butterflies all ready to go. And what we can do here is cut out. I'm going to do a little trimming first and then cut out the butterfly. Hold on, let me grab my trimmer. Here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to line up my butterfly so that part of it is hanging off the edge. And this is going to give us a really neat type of card. So I don't know if you guys noticed this here, but our ink blended panel kind of goes off onto the white section. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go up just a little bit until we get close. And then we're going to stop. I'm going to slide this up like this. It's been an hour. Yes. Thank you so much, Patty. I'm trying to get this one done. And then we're going to go up. So see how I avoided the middle section here. That way we don't slice the butterfly, but we're cutting right around it. Can you guys see how that? This is the Fiskars paper trimmer. I think it's a 12-inch paper trimmer. I do believe, yes, thank you so much, Patty. You're the best. All right, so then what we're gonna do is take our scissors and we're gonna go through, which way am I gonna start? I think I'm gonna start down here. I'm just gonna go right around the edge here and then just gently follow the edge. Now, when you're fussy cutting, I have found that the best way to do this is to move the paper, not the scissors. So see how my scissors are not moving, but my paper is what's moving. This gives me the best results when I am trying to get a smooth fussy cut image. And for those of you who are not familiar, fussy cutting is just using scissors to cut something out. But there we go. We've got the butterfly sticking out over the edge there. You can trim this and use this panel too as well. You don't have to just throw it away. You can absolutely reuse that. But now we have our panel here, and I'm going to grab another card base. I'm going to go ahead and just fold this. This is a piece of the same cardstock. This is the 65-pound. Michaels does also sell a 110-pound cardstock that is excellent for card bases as well. So that's definitely worth giving a try. I'm going to line this up just like this so it sticks off the edge here. We've got a little bit of a white strip. We are going to go ahead and attach that. But before I do that, I do want to stamp my sentiment. Where's my stamp set here? All right, so we used Best Wishes for this one. Lovely customizable project, absolutely. I really love the ability to kind of make things our own and really just go for it and make changes, and you could change the colors, anything. And this is just a really nice project. You could change this instead of butterflies. You could use something else as well. But yeah, I really, really like the way that this turned out. All right, so we're just going to make sure our stamp is nice and inked up. Again, we're using Ranger's Jet Black Archival ink. I'm going to go right into the bottom corner here and just make sure that is nice and firmly pressed. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to smush it and get kind of like a fuzzy outline, but just nice firm pressure and then lift away. And we've got our sentiment, Best Wishes. Perfect. Now that that is done, we can go ahead and apply some tape to the back of this card here. There we go, a little bit there. Like I said, we're going to use or leave a little bit of space, a little bit of white space on the edge up here on the side, just so that it kind of gives it a nice pop of white on the edge there. Never open them because not sure exactly what to do. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I hope that you have so much fun creating with them. These are some of my favorite products. I use Distress Oxides more than probably anything else in my craft room, and I absolutely love them. All right, we are in the home stretch, friends. We are almost there. All we're going to do now is take a couple of these butterfly images and stamp them with a variety of the same three colors, and then we are going to be good to go. Our card will be finished. We'll add just our touch of our little touch of the liquid pearls, and we will be all set. So what I'm going to do first is take this little bit here with the water, just the water. I'm going to spritz that, use it around the edges here just to dry it up. And I'm going to put my little butterfly right here. This is all personal preference as far as where you put these images. You don't have to follow where I put them exactly. It is completely up to you. I'm just going to dry the back of this here so we can make sure our stamp doesn't fall off while we're trying to stamp our images. I'm just going to go back and forth with these colors, adding a few at a time, just to kind of add a little bit more something to make it sort of look like a swarm of butterflies. And now you can see the difference here of how it looks when I just stamp the image with no water versus when I was using water before. You get that oxidized effect versus a nice clean stamped image. I love this stamp set too. It's so pretty. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and switch out and use this little butterfly. And like I said, this is all just personal preference. You can put these wherever you want or skip them completely. You don't have to add them. But if you would like to, they're there. And I think they add kind of a nice little touch. But this is all up to you and kind of your crafty mojo, however you feel it looks best. I'm going to sort of overlap these two up here. The butterflies kind of fly around together a little bit. I hope I have the chance to watch again. Absolutely. Yes. Linda, that's amazing. I'm proud of you for kind of flying by the seat of your pants. That's sort of my crafty motto. You make it work with what you have and you stuck with it, which is awesome. So if you would, I think the hashtags will probably get posted here again in a little bit. But if anyone is interested in catching up with Ranger on social media, you guys can find Ranger at on Instagram at Ranger_Inc. And then I am also on Instagram at A Card Day's Work. So if you guys are interested in chatting with me and kind of getting to know me a little bit better, I am on Instagram there as well. I do also have a YouTube channel where I post videos, a variety of different things. So I'm on YouTube as A Card Day's Work as well. But yeah, so we're just adding just a couple little things in here. Again, this is just personal preference. You don't even have to add them if you don't want them, but I think they add a nice little something. I'm going to add just a little one right here, and you can see how different they look with the different types of ink, whether we're using water, whether we're combining ink colors, any of that. I think it makes a nice difference there. So again, I'm going to go ahead and try out my liquid pearls on a scrap first. Now that I know it's working perfectly, I can go ahead and add my little dots on the butterflies. I like to add 3 dots to the larger butterflies. And then 1 or 2 dots to the smaller ones, like these ones, the medium size I like to add 2. This one I'll just add 1. Again, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but you definitely can if you want to add just a little something extra to your cards. We'll just add little dots there.
Jess, can I just interrupt you a second?
Yes,
there was another question.
Oh, yes.
Are Distress Oxide ink pads different from other ink pads?
Oh, yes. So the Distress Oxide ink formulation is really special because it works differently than even the Distress inks. So the Distress Oxides stay wet a little bit longer. I have heard that people have heat embossed with them. I have not personally tried it, but I'm pretty sure that people have a heat embossed with them because they do stay wet a little bit longer. You can ink blend with them, but they work a little more like a pigment ink where you can, like I said, they stay wet a little bit longer, but they stay on top of the paper rather than going into the paper as much like a dye ink would. Now they are still interactive with water. So you can do that. The difference between these and a Distress ink, for example, is the Distress Oxide is excellent for stamping even sentiments. So for example, we could stamp out this let your dreams take flight. With the Distress ink, you won't get as crisp of a stamped image as you will with the Distress Oxides. Just because of the way they're formulated, they work really great as a stamp or as an ink for stamping intricate details. So you see that sentiment, it stamps perfectly. Whereas the Distress inks, I would consider more of a technique ink. These are very versatile because they can be used for both techniques and stamping. So when you get one ink, you really can do so much with them. You're not limited to just one thing. And I think that's why I reach for these so much, just because they can be used for so much. I use them for my ink blending. I use them for stamping. It sounds like you can heat emboss with them. So I need to get on that and try that out. But yeah, I hope that you guys learned something or at least had fun crafting or creating with me. I really, really enjoyed getting to spend some time with you this Saturday afternoon. Oh, April, thank you so much. My second home, Michael's. Oh my goodness. Yes, I really, really enjoy these classes, and I'm glad that we can spend a little bit of time together to do these. Let me scoot these over so you can see what's going on here. So these are the cards. I really hope that you guys love them, and I would love to see what you guys have made. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the other camera view here. Hold on just a second. Okay, so back to the face view instead of just the hands. I really do hope that you guys enjoyed the class today. If you guys have questions or anything, feel free to reach out to us. The class will be available on the Michael's YouTube channel in 24 to 48 hours. You can reach out to us on social media and chat with us anytime. And I hope that you guys will be back for another class with us again in the future. Thank you guys so, so much for hanging out with me. Thank you to Patty and to Raina for being here from Michael's. And I hope that you guys all have a fabulous day. We'll see you next time. And until then, stay crafty.